guys, going to do a quick instructional video of a repair here in a car. If you have an air conditioner that works on cooler days and when you first turn the car off but tends to die after a couple minutes or some certain amount of time on a hot day, it's a pretty good chance that you have a problem with the AC compressor clutch. You may need to replace the compressor clutch, or it may be as simple as just changing some of the shims to get the tolerances back where they're supposed to be. So let me show you through the process here. This particular car is a Volvo S40, but this applies exactly to any later model Volvo, or the basic concept of it, and most of the steps are the same on just about any car. The first step is to actually locate your air conditioning compressor and the pulley that drives it. That may be found under your hood, or in this particular car, the best way to get at it is inside the right side wheel well. There's a splash panel here that I pulled out, which only takes about a minute to do. It's a couple of bolts there. Depending on your car, you may find it's most easily accessible inside the wheel like this, or you may find that it's easily accessible from inside the hood. Now you'll see that this right here is the clutch on top, and that spins freely as it spins the compressor. When the air conditioner is on, you'll find that this will spin along with the belts and the pulleys, and when the air conditioner is off, it won't spin at all. So this is what it'll look like when the air conditioner is running. And this is what it'll look like when the air conditioner is turned off or not working. Of course, just because the compressor doesn't spin when the air conditioner is on inside the car doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem with the clutch. It could also be turning off because there's a low coolant condition or an overheat condition, or it could also just be that there's nothing wrong and the air conditioner is cycling on and off to maintain the right temperature to prevent icing of the evaporator. So a good way to tell for sure if the clutch over here is the problem is to check for voltage at the wire to the solenoid right here. And you may have to stick an extra wire in there, slide it along the outside to make sure. But whenever the air conditioner is on, you should be getting 14 volts right here at this wire. And if you find that there is 14 volts at this wire and the compressor itself still is not spinning, that's a pretty good way to narrow it down, because if there's no power here, it's not supposed to be on. But whenever there is power here, the compressor should be on. Well, sure enough, after I drove this car for a few minutes and the air conditioner stopped working, I went and checked the solenoid and I had 14 volts there, but the compressor still didn't come on. So we got a clutch problem here. And the first thing to do is to check the gap. And you can see right here, there's a space between the pulley that the actual belts are on and the clutch that actually drives the air conditioner. And for this particular car, it's supposed to be between 0.3 and 0.5 millimeters. And I think that carries for all later model Volvos. And whatever your car is, you can probably look it up. So I have some feeler gauges here and I've been testing around, and I've found that the gap here is actually, you can see this one right here is a I don't know if you can see that, but it's a 0.889 millimeters, so just about 0.9 millimeters, and it's fitting in there. So my gap on there is probably about half a millimeter off. So I'm going to take this off and see if I can adjust it just with different shims, or if it's just too worn down and I need to actually get an entirely new clutch. So the way that we're going to do that is that we're going to take out this bolt here and then pop the clutch off this entire thing here. And there's a tool, which I have over here. And I was able to get this for, actually as a rental tool from an AutoZone, and it costs about $25, but they give you the money back if you end up not needing it. And what this is designed to do is to go into these 3 screw holes that you can see around there, and then that allows you to lock this in place so that you can get the bolt out. With the tool in place and all those things lined up and put in the little bolt holes there, you should have no trouble being able to just unscrew this bolt right out of the middle there. I would show doing that, but I only have 2 hands and one's on the camera. Okay, so once you got the bolt out, now it's time for the hard part. You got to pop this off of the pulley, and that's more difficult than it looks like because it's in there really tightly and it's got to be pulled up fairly straight. So the first thing is to figure out what size your bolt holes are here. In Volvos like this, it's going to be an M5 outside and an M6 in the middle, and you're going to need a long one here and then a couple of these to attach the tool. I'll show you how in just a second. So what I've done first is, this is the M6, which is going to go in the middle. It's a nice long one, and I've put a nut on the bottom there and some washers, some big fender washers up here. And I'm going to feed that in, because what this is going to do is the tool is going to press against this while being screwed down to this to pop it off. Let me get this in here and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. Okay, now you can see what I've done in here. I've tightened these 3 bolts all into the 3 screw holes that were in there, and then the washers are on the other side of this, and then tighten these nice and down tight in there. So now as I back this center screw off, that should come over here and just pop the entire clutch right off the pulley. So when I back that off, the clutch popped right out. This is the clutch here, and you can see the pulley right there. And now you'll see this is the side of the clutch that actually contacts, and there's a bit of wear on there. If it's too badly worn, then now would be a good time to just replace this entire clutch thing here. If you also want to replace the solenoid, that's a bit more involved. I'm not going to show it in this video, but there is a circlip that you just pull out inside of there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's in there, and you pop that out, and then the pulley will come off, and then you're able to replace the actual electronic part of the clutch system over there. But since all I'm doing over here is I'm just going to remove some of the shims. So you'll find that there are small shims down inside of there, and of course they will immediately fall out when you pull this off. I have them over here. Make sure you find them all when they fall out. I have 3 here. There'll probably be something around 3 or 4 of them, and they're all slightly different thicknesses. And so now what you're going to want to do is ideally just take one of them out to get your spacing where it's supposed to be. So if you recall, the spacing on mine was about 0.9 millimeters, and ideally it should be 0.3 to 0.5. I'm shooting for as close to 0.4 as I can get, so I want to remove about 0.5 millimeters worth of spacers here. So the ideal way to measure the shims to figure out the right one to use is to get a micrometer, but since I don't have one, what I'm doing is I'm using these snap pliers, and I set them to get close so that my 5 millimeter will just barely fit in there, and then that will help me to figure out which one of these will also barely fit in there, and that's the one I'm going to remove to reduce it by the 0.5 millimeter that I need to make this work. And that one was pretty close. That's probably what I'm going to go with, but I'll test the last one too. Yeah. Removing this one here, this one is pretty close to 5 millimeters. So I think pulling this one out and continuing to use the other 2 shims will get me pretty close to exactly 4 millimeters, or exactly 0.4 millimeters. And once I've chosen the shim that I want to remove, I put the other 2 back in there, and then I hold the bolt in place in the back to prevent the shims from dropping out when I try to put the pulley back in. And then I'm just going to reassemble this the opposite of the way I put it together. You need to make sure that these little splines in there line up. Sorry if I'm not doing a good job of filming here. I think I'm blocking my light. And then you're just going to put this on and reassemble it the same way you took it apart. Okay, and once you got it back on there a little bit, you're going to need a mallet to get it in all the way. If you don't have a mallet, you can use a hammer and a block of wood like I'm going to do. Okay, and once you've malleted it on a bit, make sure to put the bolt back in and use that tool again to tighten it down as much as you can. And once it's tightened in, you want to make sure that now your clearances are about right. And as you can see, this is just a hair over, what is that? That's 0.4, and I can't quite get in all the way the 0.457. So it's someplace between 0.4 and 0.457, which is right about where I want it. So what you want to do at this point is start the car up, and you want to, first of all, with the air conditioner off, make sure that that this part is not spinning, to make sure that it's disengaging properly, and then also when you have it on, make sure that it is spinning. Alright, and sure enough, this looks good. This is with the air conditioner on, and this is with the air conditioner off. It's important to make sure that it does actually turn off when you turn it off, because otherwise you'll burn up the compressor if it's just running all the time when it's not supposed to be. And if you've taken out too many shims, it'll just be stuck on all the time. Okay, so with that all set, my last step is going to be to drop a little bit of Loctite on the bolt here, just to make sure, holding it in place. And then I'm going to tighten it back in there, and then just put everything back together. And with that, I'm done. So now I just need to put the splash guard back in, and the tire back on, and then we're good to go. And tomorrow should be a pretty warm day here. I think it's supposed to be upper 80s, so that should be enough that within 10 minutes I'll know for sure if this fix worked or not, but I think it should. It's right back in spec again. So if you have an air conditioner that's cutting out once it gets hot outside after a few minutes, this is probably the first place to look, and hope it works out for you. Best of luck. Nice and cool.